What is going on, everybody? Thank you guys again for tuning into this new episode of the Heated Sports Podcast. As usual, my name's Justin, and I'm going to be the weekly host here for you guys. We have a lot of topics we're going to dive into here today, a lot of breaking news, and a variety of different aspects of the sports world. We're going to dive into why Dallas Keuchel finally signing with the Atlanta Braves is basically just now the Le'Veon Bell of the MLB. So that's going to be an interesting comparison I'm going to get into. We're also going to bring up just obviously completely diving into the NBA Finals and how Kawhi Leonard is now one win away from being known as the NBA Dynasty killer. So we're going to get into a lot of that conversation here later on as well. And we're going to take some of your phone calls on the back end of the show. So again, we've previewed that phone call aspect of the podcast here in recent weeks. So we're going to get a few phone calls in here, and I'm going to just have some conversations with a few fans that have reached out to us. So so let's just get started and we'll start getting rolling here, guys. Alright guys, so we're just going to dive in, same routine. So what I like to do at the beginning of every show is just talking about some of the previous week's Heated Sports articles that a lot of our team are putting out here every single week. So I'm just going to get right into it. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Every Week NBA article that our very own Harrison Weaver puts out for us. We're right in the middle of the NBA Finals right now. As we're recording this, the Raptors just went up 3-1, so one game away from taking down the completely injured Warriors. And that's something that I'm going to bring up because my initial prediction, I had Warriors in 5, which clearly just is not just remotely close to what the reality is. But again, I mean, I think myself, along with a lot of other people who were making their predictions before the finals, that everybody was healthy except for Kevin Durant. We've seen a lot of injuries. Iguodala's been kind of like, I'd say 50-60% all series. Klay Thompson went down, missing a game, came back, and actually played really well in Game 4, but still definitely not 100%. I mean, you have other guys. I think a lot of people were expecting Kevin Durant to be back by now, but it's pretty clear if he comes back at all, he's not going to be 100% if he does come back for any games. And the Warriors were just pretty much completely downplaying this injury the entire way through. After it happened, they were making it sound like, yeah, he'll miss a few games here and there, but he could definitely come back for the Western Conference Finals. Well, they really didn't end up needing him. They sweep the Blazers in 4 games anyway, but I thought he would definitely be back for the Finals. Then it ended up coming out that he'd be out for the first 2 games. Then it's like, okay, all right, yeah, then he'll definitely be back Game 3, home game for Game 3. Now we know that he's missing both Games 3 and 4. Don't even know if he's coming back for Game 5. It's a complete mess over in Golden State, and I mean, you have to think that this team should still be able to compete, but it's ugly right now, and the Raptors are just completely playing with a full sense of confidence. You saw them after winning Game 4 in Oracle. No smiles, no cheers. That team is all business. They know what they're here to do. They have one more game here to try to win out. And it's going to happen, I think. I mean, the Raptors are definitely going to take this series, and they're going to... I don't know if they're going to win it at home here in Game 5, but I mean, I don't see the Warriors rattling off 3 straight, whether KD comes back or not. Something I do want to see, though, is this to actually be a series. I mean, I've been a fan in the NBA for a while now, and I want to see good series down to the wire. I want Kevin Durant back. I want the Raptors to take on this Warriors team at, I'm not going to say full strength, but as close to full strength as this Warriors team can be. And that obviously means that Kevin Durant's going to have to be on the court for that. So we're going to have James Duncan here on the podcast here a little later. We're going to dive into a lot more NBA talk, so make sure you tune in for that. The next article I'm going to bring up is actually one of my own. So I got back into the writing scene here a little bit this week, really highlighting some MLB draft prospects. If you don't know, the MLB draft happened here this past week. Very extensive draft. A lot of players are getting picked and getting to see their dreams come true. And it was pretty cool on a local level, and that's kind of what I highlighted. So if you don't know, a lot of us here at Heated Sports go to Millersville University. That's right outside of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And we had 3 players out of Millersville get drafted here. So I'm just going to name them off. We have Tyler Yanowski in the 19th round by the Washington Nationals, Eli Nabholz in the 30th 38th round by the Milwaukee Brewers, and then Daniel Ross in the 39th round by the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I kind of touched on a little bit of those three guys, all right-handed pitchers coming out of the pitching staff here at Millersville, all very well deserving. They put up really good numbers for consistent seasons here with Millersville for the Marauders. So that was just really cool to see, getting to see three names out of our D2 school here in central Pennsylvania, getting their names called and getting to take their talents here to the next level. Another guy that I touched on is someone that I personally know in Nathan Acker. He got drafted in the 29th round by the Cleveland Indians, and this is a guy that I actually grew up with back in Middletown, Pennsylvania, right outside of Harrisburg, a small town also in central PA. So I got to grow up with Nathan. I went to high school with Nathan, and he's just always been a standout starting pitcher, completely dominated at the high school level with us for the Middletown Blue Raiders, and he ended up taking his talents down to South Carolina with the College of Charleston. Being on their pitching staff there, being their closer for the last 2 seasons, just really putting up great numbers. So I actually got to do a little interview with him over the phone, so I got a lot of good responses out of him, and just what he took from the college level over at Charleston and what he's ready to do to take it to the next level with the Indians. So I did a really nice piece on that, got a lot of good answers out of Nathan, so be sure to check that out, guys. Just really cool to see a lot of guys here on the local level that I know kind of getting their little league dreams come true. So that's kind of a phrase that I use in the article, so make sure you go check that out as well. One other article I'm going to touch on here really quick is NFL article by Kevin Eagleson. He put out an article about the new Carson Wentz contract. Obviously, I'm assuming a lot of Philly fans are probably watching this and cannot be more excited about Carson Wentz being locked up long term. Carson Wentz signed a new extension for 4 years worth $128 million with $108 million guaranteed. Just completely breaking the bank and continuing to move on this upward trend for quarterbacks and getting signed. So this deal is about $32 million a year and competes pretty well with Russell Wilson's deal. Russell Wilson completely broke the bank with his basically his own personal deadline for Seattle to abide by. His deal was about $34 million a year, so a little more on the per year basis, but Carson's really just kind of takes it to the next level in terms of guaranteed money. So that was really exciting to see. Do I think he got overpaid, which is a question that's coming up a lot? It's really tough because Carson's a top level talent if he's healthy, and that's really just the big if for everybody if they're talking about this guy. I mean, I always root for Philly. I think Wentz is a great guy and a great quarterback, so I'm always going to hope that he stays healthy and he can really take this team and keep them in the next level, which is where they've been. But I think all Philly fans are ecstatic. You just kind of got to say a quick prayer every night that guy's going to stay healthy. But overall, I mean, that's a lot of the articles we have here, guys. Kevin goes into a lot more detail with that. Just kind of talking about Carson and what this future means for the Eagles now. This team's in a win-now state for the next 3-4 years. So securing your franchise quarterback for that time period is going to be great. And Philly fans are going to have a lot to root for here in the next 4 to 5 years for sure. One other thing I want to touch on, aside from the articles here before we get James on, is breaking news out of the MLB. Dallas Keuchel, the guy that I've been preaching for the Phillies to try to get signed, has signed a 1-year contract with the Atlanta Braves, division rival, which for me is tough to see. The Braves are kind of right on the cusp. They're staying in competition with the Phillies for this division right now. I really didn't like to see it because I think Keuchel is a really, really talented starting pitcher, which is why I think the Phillies could have used him and should have signed him. But the biggest exclamation point for that is what they signed him for. Dallas Keuchel signed a 1-year, $13 million contract with the Braves, which if you're holding out for the entire offseason and going into the actual beginning of the regular season, that's definitely not what Keuchel wanted in terms of holding out for a new contract. I made the comparison to the beginning preview here. He basically just became the Le'Veon Bell of the MLB. Basically, same type of situation. If you don't know, Dallas Keuchel was a Cy Young pitcher with the Houston Astros here in recent years. The Astros offered him a very healthy contract to stay with their franchise. They offered him a deal around $17.5 million a year to stay in Houston, and he basically turned it down. He said, I want a new contract. I know my worth, and he thought he was worth more than that. Very similar to what Le'Veon Bell did in this past year and a half. I mean, Le'Veon Bell with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was a free agent. Pittsburgh tried to put him on the franchise tag. Obviously, he didn't want to be franchise tagged for another year. And Pittsburgh ended up offering him a very healthy deal before the start of the offseason in 2018, so over a year ago now. They offered him 5 years, $70 million, which comes down to about $14 million a year. As we already know, Le'Veon held out the entirety of the 2019 season, ended up signing with the New York Jets, and the New York Jets offered him less money than what Pittsburgh did. The Jets offered him a 4-year deal, $52.5 million, which comes down to $13 million a year. So at the end of the day, both these guys, I'm going to say, are with a worse team now on a worse contract, and they wasted a lot of time that they could have been playing ball, making more money. So, I mean, I like Dallas Keuchel and I like Le'Veon Bell, but at the end of the day, these guys really haven't made the smartest decisions in terms of holding out and really just knowing their worth, or knowing what the market thinks their worth is. And Keuchel even admitted that going in. I mean, he kind of stated and put out a statement that we really didn't handle this situation as great as we could have. We might have underestimated or overestimated the market a little bit in terms of what they thought that he was going to be worth and what he was going to get offered. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's tough to see, and maybe this will kind of be in the back of other athletes' minds if they're thinking about doing the same thing. Taking that initial offer, sticking with a very talented team. I mean, the Steelers and the Astros are well above what the Braves and what the Jets are right now. So I mean, those two teams are both championship like contenders. Maybe not so much Pittsburgh, but I think Pittsburgh is definitely more talented in terms of right now versus what the Jets currently are at the moment. So it's tough to see for both guys. I mean, it definitely could end up working out at the end of the day. Keuchel's on a 1-year deal, so he could just completely light it up and then get a very deserving, very healthy contract after that. But in baseball, it's just so tough. I mean, I wish him nothing but the best. Maybe not too much of the best since he's competing against the Phillies for that division now, but at the end of the day, we'll just kind of have to see how it plays out. But that was a very interesting situation that came out this past week, and something that I just wanted to touch on because I think this is just a completely ridiculous scenario that's very, very, very comparable to what the Le'Veon Bell situation was here in the last year or so. So that's my take on all that. We're going to take a quick transition now. We're going to get James Duncan back here on the podcast, get everything situated. We're just going to talk a lot of NBA news, so I'm excited to have him on, and we'll close out the show with him. So we'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back now. We got the transition set up. So we have James Duncan, Heated Sports' very own James Duncan, in the studio with us. So we're just going to start talking about some NBA stuff. I want to get your reactions on some things here quick. So
yeah, you told me you have a story you want to tell me.
Yeah, so I'm going to get to this story here first because this is just a Kawhi Leonard story that broke out on Twitter yesterday, and it's absolutely hilarious. And I'm not going to dive too much into it until after I read it, just because I just want to get your fresh reaction out of it. So, all right, so While with the Spurs, Kawhi was known for his love of red apples. One time after practice, everyone decided to go out for a team dinner. When it was his turn to order, Kawhi waved off the order and instead pulled out a bag of 12 red apples. Coach Popovich asked what he was doing, and Kawhi simply replied, "Apple time, apple time." He then ate 12 apples with a knife and a fork.
Yo, what the fuck? I can't say that. What? What was that?
Just a story that broke out on Twitter, dude.
Oh my god. So hold on, let me get this straight. So he walked into a restaurant with a bag of apples, and so apples are the secret ingredient to winning the NBA Finals, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Look, I don't like believing everything I see on Twitter. I also am very skeptical about Twitter and the NBA. I think it's funny, kind of. I think stories like that are hilarious.
Yeah.
I think stories like what was I gonna say?
Well, I'm just
like
going to stop
told
you. Let me stop you right there because it's not true.
Oh, okay.
It's not actually true.
Oh, really?
But this thing like broke the internet for like a good like 10, 12 hours because like it's believable.
I mean,
as how crazy
Kawhi, yeah.
for how crazy of a story this is, like for it to be believable. And like there was actual like I was listening on the radio today, like on my way here, like ESPN show, like these guys on the show like legitimately thought this was true until like the one guy like broke it to
Oh
it.
wow, really?
Like I mean, like when they were talking about it, when
me.
they were talking about it, like they like knew that it wasn't true. Like, but like they literally said like that whole night, like going into it, like they were planning on talking about this because they thought like it was like legitimately like an actual story from when like Kawhi was with the Spurs.
Well, you just finesse me right now
because it's just like, but like just how crazy is that though? Like with just how like
you can believe it because it's Kawhi.
Yeah, just like with how like robotic and just like how just completely like weird Kawhi is compared to the rest of the NBA. Just like that type of story, just like some random dude just puts it out on Twitter, and it's just like yeah, like that could have happened. Like it's just Kawhi. Like this guy has no emotion. He's one game away from the NBA Finals and looks like he could not care less. Like I'm loving these memes. Like this one guy put out today that like Kawhi's about to win Finals MVP tomorrow, and he's just gonna go home and just sit down at the dinner table and just say, yeah, I won Employee of the Month, and just have like a little like Employee of the Month like trophy. Like that's it. Like
he's not. Do you think like well actually like say the Raptors win? And say, are we gonna get any like emotion like out of Kawhi? You think?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Like I mean, we as much like you saw that Game 7 shot against the Sixers. Like that's as much emotion as we're gonna see, I think. And even post game, like the post game interview, there was nothing. Like post game, like press conference, really nothing. Like that's Game 7 like jumper completely off balance to win the series at home. Like that's, if you don't get any emotion out of that, like that's.
I would feel really bad like if we were to find out like later on that like Kawhi has like some sort of like issue with like being able to just like express
just like socially,
just like just a weird like I feel like the media would just feel really bad like we dog him about
like
stuff like
it's
that.
like the media is just going off on him. I mean, like, so are we, because like it's funny and like it's entertaining, and like you got to think like he doesn't care that much, but like it's crazy because so many people are making this a big deal. Like he's an introvert. Like that's what it is. Like he's just an introverted person. But it's just so weird to see that in like professional sports, especially in the NBA, with how many personalities are in the NBA.
Absolutely.
Seeing someone that's just so introverted but so talented at the same time, like that's just, it's like people are just eating that up because it's just so unheard of, and you just don't see it, especially at this level.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
It's super interesting to see him play. Like, you know, I think it's really cool because the last time he won when they won a championship, like he wasn't really in like the spotlight, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think it's really interesting now that he is in the spotlight. We're getting to see him just like completely like take over games, like, and it doesn't even, it won't even look like it at first, like especially like first quarter. Like I think there was only like 17 points scored in the first quarter, like last game.
Yeah, it was an ugly first half.
It was really
game,
bad, but like they still like flipped it and just made it happen. And now they're going back. By the time we're recording this, I mean, now they're going back to Toronto. I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
There's absolutely like Drake will be there.
No, if KD does not play in Game 5, which would have already have happened, but if KD doesn't play, I think the series is done. If KD plays, I'm not as confident, but it still wouldn't surprise me. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, the Raptors are winning this series. I think like they just have all the momentum, home court. Yeah, Drake's gonna be on the sideline going absolutely insane. It's gonna be nuts. And I mean,
I watched a video this morning of LeBron James when they were in Toronto. I don't know if it was last year or the year before that, but they beat Toronto out for the Eastern Conference Finals. And I remember they did an interview with LeBron, and he was like, first of all, like, I just want to like show love to like the area. Like this is like a crazy place to play in. He's like, I seriously, he's like, I almost like kind of like it seemed like he was like he had broke down at some point where it was like, dude, that place just gets so loud and you don't even know it, and you wouldn't even expect it going into a different country. I mean, yeah, it's like right over the fence, but like
it's still a whole country worth of fans that are behind you. Yeah. And I mean, that's because I'm just going to transition, sticking with Kawhi, but like he's becoming a dynasty killer in a sense. He's basically tearing this Warriors team apart. And like, granted, this injures Warriors team apart. He was a part of that Spurs team that pretty much broke up the Miami Heat with that trio over in Miami. And again, another post on Twitter, I saw that you could count that he tore the Spurs team apart by sitting out for the Spurs last year. So I mean, for very different reasons, but like this guy is just completely just tearing the NBA up wherever he goes, whoever he's playing for. And I mean, it's crazy because I mean, I'm going to mention here too, I don't think he's going to stay in Toronto whether they win or lose. I think he's moving on regardless, but I think he's going to take his talents to LA, not the Lakers, but the Clippers. But I think he could just turn things around in LA and just completely just take that franchise to the next level now.
I don't know, man. If I'm Kawhi, and with the long decision making and the issues that happened with the Spurs before he did get traded to Toronto, this is how I kind of look at it. I mean, he did buy property in Toronto. That is confirmed.
I'm not looking into that too much.
Dude, I know you're not looking into it too much, but why would you
ate that?
I know, but but like, come on, bro. You gotta like, why would you buy? It'd be one thing if he bought like property somewhere else in the United States, but he's buying it in Canada, which means he's like, it's either he's got to like, you got to go through customs to get to your house if you're going to.
But I mean, dude, like Toronto's a great area regardless. And I mean, I think like he's made like a presence here. So I mean, I think like all these NBA players have several houses. I'm not saying it's nothing. It's definitely not nothing. Like it can still be something, but people are making it out like that it's like Toronto confirmed.
I just think
Kawhi bought a house, Toronto confirmed. Like that's it.
I just think he's smart enough to like think about it first. Like actually, like I don't think it's gonna be one of those decisions where he's like, all right, I did this, let me just and then we're done. I don't think it's going to be the case. I think that the Toronto Raptors have to actually really like present like a serious package for him to stay. Like I agree with you, especially if he brought a championship there, because if he does bring a championship there, there's going to have to be a lot of conversations, and he's going to dictate that team, and he's going to say, this is what I want, this is who I want here. If you can't do this, then I'm leaving. Because I mean, the Clippers have a very good supporting cast. That team competed with the Warriors in the first round, and then adding Kawhi onto
of that team, like that team can be insane.
I think that team could also be touched up a little bit. And
I was just gonna say, and that's
nice...
if they don't add anybody else, which they could. I mean, they only have enough for one max slot, which would be Kawhi essentially. But, like they still have some cap space on top of that to bring in another like an A, like a B, like B level like type talent, because there's a lot of other good free agents out there too.
I'm just interested to see what that team's gonna do. Like, I mean, if they were to get Kawhi, like, I don't know. I just feel like there has to be so many times. I guess like Kawhi has definitely proven that like he's no stranger to transition and being able to handle that and like walk through it. But,
exactly, yeah.
You know, I've seen a lot of teams that we've said that are gonna look pretty good if they get certain players, and the team just doesn't mesh well. I mean, even the Sixers were, I guess, a great example of that, especially towards like the middle of the season. Like, they fell apart.
Oh my gosh, and, yeah,
like,
just putting in all that new talent at the same time.
The Sixers had
there was no chemistry there at all.
The second most talent, the most talent in the Eastern Conference, and we still like just like fell apart.
Yeah.
So I don't understand.
Hump,
so like that's how I kind of look at it, is like the transition between teams and like being able to build team chemistry is like really big, especially when you're trying to win championships. Also, he's back in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that we're forgetting to talk about, is that like, okay, yes, the East looked a little bit better this year in terms of just like competition across the board, but like it's still the East.
It's still not what the West is.
Exactly.
But again, all these guys are going to be moving this offseason. KD could very well go to the East. I think Anthony Davis could also go to the East with him to the Knicks. That's still going to be my thing I'm pushing for a while. A lot of these big-name guys are going to be coming to the East most likely and just making it more competitive than what it is, especially if the Sixers can stay together. Obviously, Milwaukee's going to be up there too.
That's a long shot for the Sixers. I mean, I don't know. Jimmy's little post at the end of the season really took me...
A little goodbye post almost.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that was. I don't know what that's going to be, but like...
I don't know. I don't want to say Jimmy's toying with us a little bit. I think there's a good chance that Jimmy stays. I think Tobias will probably be gone, but I don't want to get into the Sixers too much this week. But
no,
in general, I mean, I think the Eastern Conference is here to stay. It's not like just like a one and done. Like, if Kawhi leaves, the East is still going to be competitive.
Right.
And I think, if those other free agents come over to the East, it's just going to stack it up even more.
Yeah, I think if Kawhi does leave, and if he's thinking about leaving, we're not going to get a decision until like the last possible second.
No, it's
because he's gonna want to have to see where everybody goes before he leaves the Eastern Conference.
It's not gonna,
especially if you win a championship.
Yeah, it's not gonna be. I don't think he has a decision made up right now. I mean, yes, he bought the property and this, that, and the other, but I mean, I don't think he has a decision made up regardless. I think like other guys, I think Kevin Durant knows what he's gonna do, whether he comes back and plays or not. I think KD knows what he wants. I think Kyrie knows what he wants too, which is where I kind of want to transition to now. Is that people are saying that the Brooklyn deal for Kyrie's locked up already. Brooklyn made a couple moves to free up enough cap space for a second max slot to bring in someone with Kyrie. Stephen A. Smith was on First Take earlier today, basically just giving a very Stephen A. type quote saying, Kyrie is definitely, but I can't say definitely, but he's definitely going to Brooklyn, according to like people and insiders that he knows. Along with a lot of other articles, a lot of other people coming out and saying the same exact thing, that the Kyrie to Brooklyn deal is already locked up and they could bring someone else in with them if they want to. But do you think that's a smart move if it ends up being a reality? Do you buy into all that hype, or do you think it's just noise to kind of just create stories for the media right now?
I would be disappointed if Kyrie were to go to Brooklyn, especially because like D'Angelo Russell has had like a pretty like crappy like first like few years in the NBA. I mean, like he was pushed around. They didn't want him in LA.
Lakers kicked him out. Magic basically kicked him out.
Exactly, and was like, you can go. And then he turned this whole entire team around. For somebody like Kyrie to come in, who we know from the past has had issues with dealing with other teammates. Those are two hotheads, and if that is actually true, then we are going to see a move in D'Angelo Russell.
Oh yeah, I mean I wasn't going to like cut you off, but I mean I think that's definitely that. If Kyrie's in there, Russell's out.
Absolutely,
which can just help stack that team. If you have two max slots and you can get assets for like Russell proved himself this year. Like they can get decent picks or decent players in return for Russell.
I think Russell should move on to a different team. I think that it's going to take a lot to take Brooklyn to something like a championship.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a few years.
I mean,
don't think Kyrie can do it. I think it would be smart for Kyrie to stay away from somewhere like that and maybe try and like
where?
Dude, I in my head, just because I grew up watching the Lakers. I mean, we both did.
Nope.
But I know it's not gonna happen, but I would love to see.
Oh no,
as a fan, I would really like to see it.
No, I mean, I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm saying like it shouldn't happen. I think like after everything Kyrie did and said about LeBron to LeBron, demanding to leave LeBron.
Yeah, but LeBron's in a little moment of like, with his hands up right now.
Yeah,
JaVale's going on undisputed, saying we're gonna win the Western Conference Finals next year.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I don't know. I just feel like there's.
Interesting trio in LA though: Anthony Davis, Kyrie, and LeBron.
I mean, I wouldn't be upset. I feel like it would actually work out for a lot of different parties.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the Celtics is.
He's not staying in Boston.
I don't know.
There's no way. Dude, after everything that happened this year, there's no way. Terry Rozier, I think Rozier came on. I think it was First Take. He literally said, "I'm leaving." He said, "I am out of here if Kyrie stays on this team."
I think,
and that's just going to create so much extra drama. Like, there's, I don't even think Boston wants him. Like, in terms of like the fan base,
sure.
I think they'd rather have Scary Terry in there and just kick, like, just make sure Kyrie's out of town.
Was it you that told me that IT was going to come back, or was that Hunter?
I didn't say that, but I've seen like some reports of it, or like people, like the fan base wanting that to happen, I should say. I don't know if there's any legitimate reports or legitimate things out there that are saying that could happen, but the fan base is pushing for it.
So say this trio does end up happening. I feel like it benefits a lot of parties, right? You would have to do an AD trade, which means that you could trade out guys like Kuzma,
Josh Hart, all those guys are gone.
All those guys can disappear if you get those. Mm-hmm. And if one of those players, like if Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma go to where's
the Pelicans,
it's over. That team's disgusting. That team looks on paper
with Zion too.
Oh, stop! And that RJ trade's happening.
And I know you said this wasn't happening before, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, wait, you talking about the Lakers getting Anthony Davis?
I'm just realistically thinking in my head, like, now I think the big
because the fourth pick's gone if that happens. Like, you can give the assets, but like having that fourth pick would be nice for the Lakers if they would land these free agents. But like, you have to get rid of that if you want. Right.
The only reason I said last time that I don't think that AD was going to go to the Lakers was because we didn't even know, I think, the draft lineup when we last had that conversation about AD. Mm-hmm. Because it's really interesting because what people realize, yes, is like Zion's a great player, but his personality and the way that he's been brought up and like groomed like throughout like college and moving into the NBA, he's going to be a serious personality that's really going to shift the tide of like what's going on in the NBA. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really going to be interesting to see what moves teams try to make. Not just if I were smart and if I were a GM and if I go back and I watch tape of somebody like LeBron James turning a whole entire franchise around like Cleveland and just ripping it apart through like year after year after year, I would be very, very fearful of Zion. And then I'm thinking about it and I'm like, all right, like I need to get pieces that I'm going to be able to stop this kid. And I feel like in LeBron's head, he's also thinking the same thing. So I feel like the push for AD is definitely still there, but they need a sharp shooter. They got Kyrie.
Yeah,
IT goes to Boston as their replacement for getting rid of Kyrie to like settle because like that's easy. That's a snap of a finger for them over there. Mm-hmm. It's not Danny Ainge.
I mean, like, yeah, maybe it is Ainge, but like, I mean, yeah, IT is like worth nothing right now. So I mean, like, I could definitely see something happening.
He's worth a lot to Boston.
No, that's what I mean. Like to Boston, he is, but to anybody else, like he's not that he's washed up, but like he's had the injuries. He's just been from team to team since that Boston trade. I think they could get him back. It'd be a good piece, and yeah, the fan base would eat that up compared to like Kyrie wanting to stay or something like that. But
Kyrie to Brooklyn would be like really interesting. If Kyrie goes to Brooklyn, KD's going to Brooklyn. That's just what I'm calling.
And I mean, I think it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't think the NBA wants that just because the market in Brooklyn is just nowhere near the Knicks or like to LA with the Lakers.
Yeah, but I mean, you're still in New York.
Yeah, so I mean, like the New York market's there. It's a very like Knicks to Brooklyn and like Lakers to Clippers type of thing. Like you're still in New York, you're still in LA, but like the Clippers in Brooklyn and like the Nets really aren't the same as like their counterparts. But
yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting. That's a report that I just wanted to bring up too, and just to get your thoughts on. But we're gonna close out the show here now. I have you on the floor here. I want you to kind of plug in some HCC stuff. So
sure.
You guys see like that HCC helping creators create logo on the beginning and end of our shows, but there's a lot of other shows that are kind of intact under this network now. Yeah. So I just want to give James the floor and let him shout that out a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So last time I was here, we talked a little bit about starting this, and now we're about, I'd say, what is it, like 4 or 5 weeks in?
I'll say, yeah.
We're about a month in now. We have a website now. I didn't have one last time we were here, so you can go check that out. It's www.thehccnetwork.com, and on there we've added a few new shows. We've got the Pink Hoodie podcast, the 8 Bar Takedown, Heated Sports, I mean, obviously is one of those. We have the Rose Review still, Talking at the Wall, and the Without a Stitch podcast. The big goal with this, I think, is to just like, dude, like honestly, like I want to make content for every single.
It's a great variety.
Right.
Like we have comedy, we have more like serious topics like the Without a Stitch. Like there's a lot of like a lot of music podcasts too. Yes, like it's a really good variety. So I mean, it's just making stuff for everybody.
Absolutely,
essentially.
and that's what it's all about. I think it's really awesome. Like thanks to everybody that's just been watching like the Heated Sports page, because like even you guys like are able to like make this like actually happen in terms of just like us like having a drive like every single week to get something done. And you know, I think it's great. I think every single person that we have here on this team, like we're learning how to create awesome content, and things are getting better by the day.
Yeah,
things are getting better by the week.
I'll say, as we're seeing just like week by week, like in general, like for our stuff and just for the HCC, like everybody else's shows, like everybody's progressing in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I think it's just going to be in the next few weeks, you know, just keep an eye on us. We're really working hard. And like, if you haven't checked out any of our shows, please just like feel free to just like head over to the website. Once again, that's www.thehccnetwork.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at hcc.tv. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're trying to get up as frequent updates of all the shows for you guys, but everything is linked in our website, so make sure you guys just go check that out. Like, this stuff is awesome. Like, I love that I'm here on Heated Sports. That's pretty cool. We shoot these every single Sunday, every single week, and like I get to drop into these shows sometimes, and I'm glad I'm here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Guys, just please like go check out HCC for me. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So like James said, just to close out, I mean, we have a lot of good content coming your way on the Heated Sports side. Obviously, if you guys have been tuning in with us for a while, but yeah, there's shows dropping every single day of the week except for Mondays. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yep,
so, I mean,
except for Mondays.
So there's episodes pretty much all throughout the week for all the different variety of shows. So just be sure to check those out. And I mean, that means a lot for us and just for the other shows as well. As we're all kind of trying to go together.
Even if, and we're going to implement this next. Guys, we're trying to get you involved as well. We want you guys to be involved, and so anyways we can, like Heated Sports is call-ins. Without a Stitch you can message in questions. We had the heated questions at one point too, to like get you guys involved, and Talking at the Wall, like we're having people send us in videos. So like this is all about everybody. It's about being able to be inclusive, and just like we were talking about earlier, like we're gonna get some phone calls like up next. And
I'll say, like, we want to like make this like a very like knit like community essentially. So like, I mean, obviously sports is something that a lot of people can like grow with and like be a part of and just like debate about. Like it's never anything too serious, but like people are very passionate about their sports, as are we. This is why we're doing this. But I mean, at the end of the day, like we want to hear from everybody. We're gonna have some call-ins here from some people that approached us about wanting to call into the show, and we would love to make that a bigger segment. We only have about 3 calls this week, but I mean, I got some feedback to me personally that I really appreciate this past week. But like any feedback to any of us about anything that we're doing or stuff that we can improve on, like I'm pretty sure I stress this every single episode, but like we like want to hear from you, and that's just really how we're gonna grow at the end of the day. So I mean, we really appreciate it. Subscribing to the channel if you have, I mean, that really means a lot. We're close to 50 subscribers, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but that's a pretty cool milestone for us.
We just started this a month ago. Like, that's awesome.
So I mean, that'll be really big. I mean, I really enjoy doing this show, and we want to keep it rolling. So we really appreciate all the support from everybody, and any other supporter. I mean, if you know people that would be interested, just make sure you let them know. And I think we're bringing really cool content, really cool discussions to the board and everything. So again, HCC, make sure you check that out. Keep up with the Heated Sports stuff. That's it for like the regular part of the podcast. We're gonna get some phone calls here on the next segments, where it's gonna transition here once again and get a couple phone calls rolling. So we'll be right back, guys.
Peace, guys.
See ya. All right, guys, like I previewed, we got it set up here back now. We're going to take some of your phone calls. So first up, we have Brian on the line here. Brian, what do you got here for me, man?
What's going on, guys? I got a question for you about NBA free agency.
Yeah, sure, man. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, I had a question about, like, where you think the top guys right now, like Durant, Kawhi, where you think they're going to land in free agency? They don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, this NBA free agency class is going to be pretty ridiculous. I mean, Kevin Durant's an interesting one because it's pretty clear that the Warriors need him to keep this team relevant and to keep them competing in the finals. I think Kevin Durant, I don't really think think he's decided yet. I'm curious to see how the rest of these finals play out. I'm curious to see if he even comes back and plays in these finals first and foremost. But I definitely think there's more of a shot that he could stay than some people are thinking. So, I mean, I think either Golden State or probably like the New York Knicks as well. That's the other real big one. Anybody else I think would be a complete like dark horse. I don't think many people are expecting him to go anywhere else other than those two. As far as Kawhi's an interesting one because I think he can really do no wrong right now. He's just rejuvenating that franchise over in Toronto, but if I'm being completely honest, I think Kawhi's probably out, and I'm still leaning on the Clippers for Kawhi. I definitely think there's more of a chance he could stay here in Toronto, especially if they do. I think if they would end up losing the finals, I think that would be more of a pressing thing for him to stay, just to try to bring a championship to Toronto. If they win, I think he's probably out. He's done everything he could. I don't think that supporting cast is going to be great, so I think him leaving Toronto if they win the championship, which looks like that they will win the championship, being up 3-1 right now. So I would look at the Clippers for Kawhi. Any other guys you were thinking, man? Do you agree, disagree? What do you think, dude?
Yeah, I was agreeing with your point on Kawhi. I think they'll obviously win this finals in the end. He's going to go to a bigger market, say LA, New York, Brooklyn, etc. If they lose somehow, which is very unlikely, he's going to want to stay another year, try to get that chip. I see Durant leaving. I don't see him playing this finals because they're like downplaying his injury. But I see him going to. I see him going to New York. It's a bigger market for him. He wants to maybe rebuild that franchise. They have a good history of historic players, so that's where I see them going.
Yeah, man, I can see it.
Davis.
Yeah, for sure.
Say Anthony Davis, dude.
Dude, Anthony Davis is an interesting one because I think he wants out of New Orleans regardless. Obviously, Zion's going to go there now with New Orleans winning the Zion sweepstakes, but I think Anthony Davis is out, so it's really out of his hands right now. I mean, he can demand these teams and just say whatever he wants and kind of force the Pelicans' hands, but I mean, it's really what the Pelicans want to do. I'm going to keep pushing the trade to the Knicks. I think the Pelicans are going to end up shipping him to New York, so I think that pairing, if Kevin Durant would go there, is one that's in the back of both of their minds in terms of Anthony Davis and KD. That would be a really good pairing to kind of rejuvenate that franchise over in New York, but that would be my take right now. Taking that 3rd overall pick, getting RJ and Zion in New Orleans to start up that franchise again, I think would be really awesome. Yeah,
nowadays it's just everyone getting to choose what team they play for and getting the max contract, so I think it'll be very interesting once July rolls around.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'll say the NBA free agency is going to be amazing here once these finals wrap up. But I appreciate your call, man. Thanks for calling in. And we're going to get to the next call here in a second. So thanks again, Brian.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
All right, next up on call, we have Ethan calling in. So what do you got for me here, Ethan?
Well, I've been watching some baseball this season. Obviously watching my favorite team, the Boston Red Sox, and I'm just kind of wondering, like, what's going on this season after all that success the past season or two.
Yeah, man. I mean, it looks like it's just the definition of a World Series hangover. I mean, like, this team really doesn't have any nagging injuries. They really didn't have any huge departures. Like, it's pretty much the same roster. So it's tough to say. I mean, the Yankees are just taking over that division. I mean, them and the Rays are tied right now, but the Red Sox are still hanging in, and I'm not going to count them out just yet by any means. There's obviously a lot of baseball to be played. Chris Sale we were talking one-on-one a little bit. Chris Sale has just been struggling this year so far, but he's a guy that's been around long enough, and he knows what to do to kind of turn things around. So I'm not counting out the Red Sox too much right now. I'm definitely looking at them to bounce back. As far as winning that division over the Yankees is another story, because the Yankees have a lot of big names and big overall talent coming back here. Probably like post All-Star break when those big names come back and like Stanton and Aaron Judge and those guys. But I can definitely see the Red Sox kind of making a run at it, trying to get that wild card spot. But as a diehard Red Sox fan, man, like, are you worried or are you kind of agreeing with me? Like you're not, like, you're pushing on the brakes a little bit as far as like the Red Sox talk.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not too worried. It's only June, so I mean, it's not even All-Star break yet. I mean, it's just, like, it's hard to say what they're going to be like. They just got to get that pitching to come alive like they did last year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I saw David Price was turning it around a little bit. He's had a good couple starts the last few rounds.
I was saying he looked awesome in that second game, the doubleheader against the Reds. Yeah, like I was watching that and he looked good.
Yeah, so I mean, if he can keep it up, and yeah, if they just can get that ace Chris Sale to come back, especially if they are in that wild card scenario, you're going to need Chris Sale on his A game to kind of compete and get you into an actual playoff run there after that. So I appreciate your call here, Ethan. Thanks again. And yeah, I'll be rooting for the Red Sox. I like Mookie Betts a lot, so hopefully they can turn things around come playoff time.
Yeah, he's a good man. He plays well. He's got a heart of gold. So, yeah, hopefully he can turn it around.
Agree. All right, yeah, thanks again, Ethan. We're going to get to the next call here in a sec. Yep. All right, so last phone call we're going to take here for the day is actually Heated Sports' very own Kevin Eagleson. So we got Kev on the phone, man. What question you want to ask me here, dude?
Oh, hey there, guys. Kevin here. Big fan of Heated Sports. But yeah, so recently Carson Wentz got his contract extended, and I think it was a smart move by the Eagles organization, but it got me wondering how this is going to affect future contracts of his draft counterparts, Dak Prescott, as well as Jared Goff. Because I have a feeling that now they're going to get way overpaid now that Carson Wentz got paid first. That's just me personally. I was wondering how you think this will affect their contracts that will probably be coming in the near future.
No, yeah, man, I 100% agree. I'm just going to apologize to Cowboys fans right off the bat right now because Dak Prescott is going to get paid, and he's going to get paid a lot of your cap money there in Dallas. Dak Prescott and, yeah, Jared Goff's the other big name that's kind of been coming out since the Wentz signing. Those are the main two guys that are coming off their rookie deals here very soon. And you could say they're talented quarterbacks. I'm not going to say they're elite level talent, but they're due to get paid, and with these new trends here at Russell Wilson and then Carson Wentz here this past week, that's just going to set the trend, and quarterbacks are just going to be getting paid more and more. And I can only just wait and see what Patrick Mahomes is going to get paid, because that guy is just going to completely just change everything in terms of NFL contracts. But yeah, for now, I mean, Dak's probably going to get paid here before the regular season starts. And yeah, I'm just going to take your word, overpaid. I mean, it's just very, very plain and simple. Dak's most likely going to be overpaid. Jerry Jones wants him in Dallas still, it seems like. So just keep an eye out for that for sure, man. I totally agree. I think Wentz was more deserving than these two. I'm definitely going to say Wentz is a much better talent than both Goff and Dak Prescott. But when push comes to shove, I mean, this is just how the trends are going to keep going, and especially for quarterbacks and that how important that position is, quarterbacks are going to be getting paid a lot more here in the near future.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think Wentz is clearly the best talent out of the three. But yeah, do you think Dak's going to get paid more than Wentz at the end of the day?
I don't know if it's going to be more. I don't think he's going to get more guaranteed because Wentz kind of broke the bank in terms of like the guaranteed money. But on terms of like a yearly basis, I think it's going to compete with that. Yeah. I don't think it's going to keep being like increasingly more and more, especially with these like lower level talent guys. But I could definitely see both Dak and Goff getting pretty like comparable contracts to what Wentz was signing. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. Do I think they deserve it? I really don't think so. But I mean, in terms of where the market's going, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, pretty much agree with everything you said, but overall, again, I think it was a smart move by the Eagles. They got their guy locked up first and foremost, and they're paying him a fair contract. So, good job to the Eagles, and I think fans have a lot to be excited about there.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'll say obviously a lot of Philly fans in this area, so they got to be more than excited to see their guy locked up long term. Thanks again, Kev, for calling in, man. I appreciate it. We love you over here at Heated Sports, so I'm sure you'll be appearing on the podcast here pretty soon.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, yeah, sounds good, man. Have a good day. See ya. So that was just kind of like a quick preview of like what our call-in segments are going to look like. We would love to do that every single week. It's just going to kind of depend on what we get approached to us. So if you guys saw that and you guys would be interested in calling in on the show, we would love to have you. I mean, so anything you have, just feel free to DM us on our Twitter or our Instagram accounts at @HeatedSports_ for both of those. Yeah, anything you have on your mind, I'd love to answer, and we can just kind of have a little quick conversation like you saw there. That's where we're going to close out the show, though, for today. So thanks again for tuning in. Again, check out those social media accounts, Twitter and Instagram and Facebook as well. We have our Facebook up on our website. And just checking out our articles. Again, I touch on the articles in the beginning of the show every week, so you can check those out at www.heated-sports.com. And yeah, once again, guys, every Tuesday night I'm going to be here. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. So just have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.